Welcome to Levantay TV, where it is always a party for your success. On Levantay TV, it is all about helping you to capture your dreams and to turn your gifts into work that you love. Today, I am so honored, and it is just my pleasure to have this fierce woman here with us today. Dr. Gonzales is a clinical psychologist, educator, mother, and founder of Latina Mastermind and National Society of Latina Leadership. Dr. Isaura Gonzales is a powerhouse, breaking barriers and creating opportunities for her community. Welcome, Isaura.
Thank you for having me. The honor is mine, and I am truly humbled, Levantay. Thank you for having me.
You were conceived in Cuba, born in Spain, and grown in the U.S. Tell us about your journey to becoming who you are today.
Well, quite honestly, like you said, conceived in Cuba, born in Spain, and made in the USA. And so for me, that really embodies my history, my family, and my journey to where I stand today. And so my passion has always been psychology, even when I was younger. And so as a child, that was something that I lived for. I lived for observation. I lived for human behavior. I lived for watching how individuals interacted with one another, from the simplest of moments to the most complex moments, right? So for me, it was early on that my passion was cultivated for psychology. I knew early on what I wanted to do, where I wanted to go. And interestingly enough, you talk a lot about fulfillment and allowing yourself to be at a place where you can serve others. And I've always found myself to be definitely a servant leader and definitely to serve others. However, what I found early on in my career was that the goal that I had set for myself was, the bar was very low. And because the bar was low, that's not where God needed me to be. No matter what your goal is, if it's not aligned with your destiny, it's not going to work.
Yes, we talk a lot about that because one of the reasons why I started this show and one of the reasons why I choose very carefully the people that I talk to is because we are in a world that we are just being blown by the wind. And so this show helps to pull people back to themselves, to the truth of themselves, so they stand in that truth and stand in that gift and follow it to whatever that destiny is. When I met you, you taught me something else, and you taught me about emotional intelligence. So tell us about emotional intelligence, why that's so important and so powerful in carving out our own life success.
Well, my brand, my business, who I am, really is off of emotional intelligence, and it's understanding four facets. So what we're talking about when we talk about emotional intelligence is four components. And think of it as a 2x2 quadrant, right? So going back to statistics and going back to research, one side of your quadrant is going to be knowledge, the other side of the quadrant is going to be management. And then we have to add yourself and others. So it actually means we know ourselves and we manage ourselves. We know others and we manage those relationships with others. It becomes very crucial. And so I always lecture or I talk or I give speeches on how if we have those four aligned, we actually come from our core. We come from that place of love. We come from that place of strength. So understanding each of those four quadrants and executing on them actually allows us to come from that place of love and that place of strength. And so what do I mean by that? If we look at emotional intelligence, if we look at all of the facets that comprise emotional intelligence, there's like 28 different facets, ranging from emotional independence, or they call it independence, but it really is emotional independence. So it's not about you living alone or feeling that you can do things alone. It's actually how dependent are you to someone else's emotions in order to execute. And Latinas, I have to tell you, this is one that gets us. Because as we move forward, or as we try to move forward, we take everyone into account. We take our abuelas, which are our grandmothers, our tias, our primas. So we have to ask everyone, our cousins, we have to ask the saints, we have to ask everyone for this permission to move forward, which, believe it or not, that's part of emotional intelligence, that we can't disconnect enough to know how we can serve ourselves and serve somebody else. There's frustration tolerance, there's the ability to communicate, there's so many facets, impulse control, that make up emotional intelligence. There's so many facets that people forget. And sometimes we're really great at one and not so good at another. And sometimes what I've seen when I do assessments on individuals and I coach or I mentor individuals on this topic is you'll see clusters. You'll see one that's really low that brings all the other ones down a bit. And it's because they're clustering together and they're not functioning well on that one particular aspect. So yes, you can be talented, you can have wonderful amounts of knowledge, but if you don't know how to really relate to another individual, you can't even communicate what you know. Yeah. So you're not going to get anywhere if you don't know how to listen, which is another component to what is needed in the relationship or of you at that moment.
You know, talk to us about Latina Mastermind, because that's one of the things that I know you're so passionate about. Why is it so important for us to have masterminds, and what is Latina Mastermind?
Well, Latina Mastermind actually, it's an organization that's dedicated to empowering Latinas to stand in their own power in order to make more money and accomplish more goals in a shorter period of time. So we do that by teaching leadership techniques and by different products that I have in place at this point. One is the app, which goes by the same name, and it's the first and only mobile app for Latinas in business all around the world. I always say, juntas vamos más lejos y damos más dura. Together, we go farther and we hit stronger. So when you go in as a force, together, united, you are able to accomplish so much more. And that's one of the things that Latina Mastermind does. I created the first and only podcast on Latina leadership as well. So for me, it's been bridging the gaps that have been missing all along.
So I'm interviewing you today because you are someone who has found a way to work through your gifts and offer your light to the world and also prosper personally and financially. What advice would you have for someone who wants to work through that gift, but they're a little scared that maybe I won't make money or maybe it won't be successful? What advice would you have for someone like that?
Well, first, if you don't put yourself in a position of service and you don't speak, you're not allowing others to benefit from what you have to say. And you're actually doing a disservice. Because the minute you decide to not shine, to not use your gifts, to not come from that place of love, you actually are denying someone your gift. And that for me becomes crucial. So about a year, almost 2.5 years at this point, when my uncle passed away, and he was part of the impetus to get us here, and he sacrificed a lot. He not only paid financially for my mother, my aunt, my brother, his wife, his son, my grandmother, all to come to Spain and then eventually here to the US. But he then continued to work and got all of his wife's family. And I think there's like 13 brothers and sisters in that family. So he worked really hard. And the moments before he passed away, I needed him to know, hey, listen, your sacrifices were not in vain. Everything, those hands that showed the work, the manual work that you did to get us here, you brought me to a place where I've served thousands and hundreds of thousands Because every time I serve one person, and that person goes and serves another person, and that person goes and serves another person, it's an infinite amount of serving that happens. And so because of that, I've been able to really say, you know, I'm doing this because this is my calling and this is my service. So going back to that moment, it really reminded me that my knowledge has no value unless I share it with others. What value does my 2 minors, my 1 major, my 2 masters, my doctorate, you know, my executive education degree from Harvard have if I don't share it with others?
Thank you so much, Dr. Gonzalez, for sharing your light with us and showing us that it is possible, no matter where you're from, no matter what might seem as your disadvantages, you can turn them around into your advantages and you can truly create your own empire of empowerment. Once you come from that place of service and you know that not doing what you were born to do is a disservice. So go ahead and do it. Thank you so much, Isaura. This was such a great time. And as I usually say, if you found this valuable, I'm sure someone else will find it valuable too. So please share, because sharing is caring. Until next time, shine bright, beautiful.